More and more Russian troops are taking to social media to vent the realities of being part of Putin's meat grinder in Vovchansk. Just what are they saying? How bad is it? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. We're going to take a look at all of it. Let's get into it. Okay, so I wanted to take a look at a couple. First off, there's some of these are translated Telegram posts, and later we're going to look at a viral video of two Russian soldiers who just finished one mission in Vovchansk and are supposedly being ordered out on another. But we're going to take a look at this real quick. So one soldier describes the fighting in the area, quote, this is Putin, doesn't see us as people. To him, we're just pencils. Worn out means dead. To understand why these soldiers are so pissed, we should probably take a look. Vovchansk is the city that's become kind of the hub of Putin's Kharkiv push, where he assembled an attack in Russia and attempted to drive into the Kharkiv region. This is Ukraine's second largest city, and he had hoped it was unlikely that the attacking force would be large enough to take the city, but I think Putin had hoped he could get within artillery range and then use that to sort of harass the city, putting a gun to the head, so to speak, of one of Ukraine's largest urban areas, and in the process kind of hold it hostage as a negotiating tactic. But he was stalled out. Obviously, you can see it's been over a month, and the front lines haven't changed at all. The fighting is heaviest in the town of Vovchansk, particularly in this aggregate plant where you can see Russian forces have been somewhat encircled. I'd say partially encircled because this gray area or this beige area is contested. So Russian forces can get to and from it, but only on kind of a limited basis. Russian forces do not control this particular area. So for Ukrainians, it's been a battle of attrition. They've been focused on just inflicting the maximum casualties on Russian units like the 138th Motor Rifle Brigade. But this house-to-house fighting has been absolutely brutal, and Russia has incurred tremendous losses. According to a second soldier named Artem, over in Vovchansk, the guys are being pounded by these drones. There's plenty of killed and wounded, and he says they die by the hundreds every day. If we had shotguns, we'd shoot those drones down. Every guy has about 7 drones hunting him, which, the irony is that actually we partially helped that. We partnered with Ukraine Aid Ops here on this channel to raise money for the Liu Brigade, who's fighting in Vovchansk. And while it's a 501c3 in the U.S. here, but we didn't raise money for weapons because you can't be a charity and raise weapons. We were able to give them a lot of reconnaissance drones, anti-drone jamming weapons, and other kind of non-lethal aid that's enabling them to take the fight to the Russians. So when you see the Russians say these things, you're like, hey, the viewers of the channel helped. Artem continues. He says, these guys came back from the hospital. Instead of getting leave, they're being sent back into battle. They're supposed to get a month off, but they're getting nothing. These guys are concussed, sick, shot up, and they're going back into the fight tomorrow. Right? He says kamikaze drones. There are more of them here than mosquitoes in the forest. There are so many that they collide in the air. Our dear and beloved Russia, we don't even have a tenth of the drones that the European Union has supplied. The Wagner guys who were in Bakhmut say it was a walk in the park compared to this. Jesus Christ. Artem continues. They're cutting us up like meat here, like we're for the grill. Yo, I don't even have much commentary. This dude's losing it. Nobody knows the truth about how we're being butchered. We got some signal today, so we can tell you we're assault troops. We just had some tea, and in 2 hours they'll say attack, and that's it. We're off. Whether they find us or not is another story. And your TV, smash it to pieces. This is a reflection of the fact that Russian state TV just says a lot of very untrue things about the way the war is going. But this is what winning looks like as generals used to say in Afghanistan when things looked sort of horrifically bad. They would say, no, this is what winning looks like. And for Putin, it is. His troops are advancing. They're taking these kind of insane casualties. They are making advances. They are pushing the Ukrainians back. Now, the Ukrainians are allowing the Russians, on some level, choosing not to dig in and fight them tooth and nail. They're instead letting the Russians advance into low value territory and inflicting casualties along the way. But you can see in a place like Vovchansk where the Russians, where the Ukrainians have said, no, we're actually not going to let you guys advance. We're going to actually defend in this point. The Russians haven't been able to make any advances in almost 2 months. So but to Putin, this is winning. This is how troops are treated in a winning campaign. Artem says, on the radio, my commander with the call sign Tilsit says all my pencils are worn out. Then he needs another 100 men. He doesn't see, it's not even Putin. It's his own commander. That colonel is a rat. Sergei adds, they show you that Vovchansk has been taken. In the first 2 days, the news said Russian forces advanced to the Volcha River. But in reality, we took only 6 streets and 1 9-story building the first days. The Volcha River, it's still kilometers away. We got hit so hard, there's no way to get there. So here, we'll zoom it in. Here's Vovchansk. Here's the Volcha. And you can see that they do claim the Russian forces are in control of a small portion of the bank of the Volcha. But you can see here that, well, it's not kilometers away. It's as close as 400 meters from some of this Russian-controlled territory. Even from here, it's more like 800 meters away, a few city blocks. Now, there's some rumors that the front line has shifted and that Russian forces are more concentrated in the northeast, but this seems to be generally recognized as kind of the stable frontline areas. So I don't think I think he's exaggerating. It's like 8 kilometers away. Sergey's Orlova Street on March 8th Street, there are hundreds and hundreds of guys lying there. He means Russian casualties. And they're not even counting the basements that are buried. This is because a lot of soldiers will take shelter in basements, either to hide from drones or artillery. And they'll either get buried in there, or when they're wounded, they kind of crawl into basements because that's a safe space. And then they'll often expire from their wounds. He says there's no houses left. Everything is leveled. Terrible. I'm just telling it like it is. We have nothing. They have everything. Everything it has. Tanks, artillery, from birds to rocket systems. Then Nikolai adds, on the news, they say they built new drone production factories. They do presentations and exhibitions about drones and Armada tanks. It's BS. We're still using our old T-72s, right? And T-72 is, of course, the Soviet main battle tank, and that 72 means it was designed in 72. Now, not to talk shit, the Abrams was also designed in 72, but it was upgraded. A lot of these are literally unupgraded since 72. And Nikolai also says, I've been through the first and second Chechen wars. What's happening here is just brutal. There we fought against people. Here it's against machines and drones. That's why 400 people have died. They're just mowing us down, and they keep pushing forward. I was in the hospital. I just got back a few days ago. In Vovchansk, I got hit by a tank. Jesus. Yeah, and Chechnya was also famously a brutal, brutal war. But this dronification of combat is just surreal. Now, we're going to take a look at the video of 2 Russian soldiers pleading not to be sent on another offensive, and some of the casualty numbers and some other signs of crushing Russian morale. But if you want to see some footage of the actual fighting in Vovchansk, right, I can't show it here. And that is on combatvetnews.com. This is my premium site. It's my Patreon equivalent. You guys know sponsors don't really want to touch this content. I'm routinely demonetized. I strongly suspect this video will get demonetized too, because I'm going to show soldiers fresh from the battlefield. So I depend on you guys to support me and enable me to do this. And if you want those twice a week, we get the viral uncensored combat footage. Sometimes it's only a few hours old, and we do a deep dive analysis of what's going on, where it's happening, what it says about the front line. Those videos, everybody gets. Specialist tier and above, everybody's got access to. If you want to participate in a weekly Q&A, that video drops, and you can submit questions, right? And that is for lieutenant tier and above. And if you want the shout outs and the by name recognition, that is going to be the colonel tier. So definitely, if you want to support me, I appreciate it so much. Link to combatvetnews.com is in the description. I'm going to put a card up, but I appreciate you guys. I really do. It makes a tremendous difference for me. Okay, so now I want to take a look at another Reddit post. These are 2 Russian soldiers complaining about their injuries, being forced to participate in an assault despite having recently been injured. Allegedly, they were beaten their own commander and then forced to go on assault by the 10,009th Regiment in the Kharkiv direction. Let's. I'm just gonna let these guys talk. You guys can read the captions, and we'll discuss what they say.
Мы военнослужащие 1009-го полка. Я Валетов Евгений. Это мой брат Валетов Игорь. Вчера выходили на штурм Волчанска. Из штурма у нас ничего не получилось. Все получили ранения, кто-то убежал. Дальнейшую судьбу их я не знаю. Возможно, раненые, возможно, убитые. Мы с братом получили ранения. Вот все израненные смогли оказать сами себе первую помощь и выбраться в лес. Командир говорит, что завтра надо идти опять штурмовать это здание. Ну, в каком состоянии мы пойдем? Если у нас все болит, мы все изранены, и у нас просто нету сил. Я обращаюсь к военной прокуратуре, президенту Российской Федерации. Вмешайтесь, пожалуйста, решите этот вопрос. Зачем отправлять вот таких вот людей, всех израненных, обессиленных, в бой? Это просто отправить на смерть.
Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to discuss with this guy. First off, yeah, they both appear to have been pretty badly concussed. But when I think he talks about attacking and then running to the forest, I think what we're looking at probably, I suspect, is going to be in Vovchansk, right? There's kind of 2 forests. So they may be describing one of this little park area, this forest here, which is just 2 blocks into Russian-controlled territory. But it could also be like maybe this forest strip here or this kind of area here near the Vovcha. It's tough to know exactly where they're assaulting. But what is telling to me is that you notice these soldiers appeal to the military prosecutor's office. And this is a pretty standard Soviet thing. And it's common among dictatorships, right? People have to feel like they have some way that they can criticize the government on some level. But usually that level is, oh, glorious leader has some corrupt bureaucrats under him, but glorious leader would never allow, if glorious leader knew what was happening in his name, he would be furious. And they say, I'm begging the military prosecutor's office, right? The military kind of ombudsman in Russia and the office of the president, don't let these corrupt commanders send wounded troops into the fight. But I think even they know that that's not the reality. The reality is that this is part of the plan. The scale that this corruption is happening, it's not corruption. It's operating exactly as designed. The casualties through the roof. Again, according to one story, Russia may have lost up to an entire airborne brigade in Vovchansk. Right? 30,000 troops bogged down, and an airborne brigade. They're saying the 83rd has retreated from Vovchansk after a 3-week deployment. There are too many 500s casualties that can't fight. Oh, sorry. There are too many casualties who can't fight, and there are too many 500s, a code for a soldier who refuses to fight. Right? And again, this is a brigade is a several thousand strong force. So the fact is that between totally demoralized, refusing to fight, and totally wounded, unable to fight, killed, just absolutely unbelievable. That to see those scale of losses is just staggering. There's also even more evidence. You can see here, this is from a map from Chuck Farr, who does these kind of sophisticated situation updates maps on Twitter. He is reporting that detachments from the 153rd Regiment and the Akhmat Battalion reported to have mutinied or refused to fight, and refused orders to conduct an assault. So there's lots of these independent reports, all sort of pointing to the same thing, which is that the fighting in Vovchansk, again, Ukraine, who's sitting there saying, listen, we're not going to lose here, are just in, and Russia, who seems to be saying, we are absolutely going to take this town, has produced an absolutely staggering level of casualties. As brutal as like Bakhmut was, and that in that fighting, Wagner Group lost 20,000 troops. There weren't really that many reports of Wagner troops refusing to fight. So the fact that this is happening here now says that this is something that the Russians are just like not prepared for. And even again, that statement from somebody who was like, hey, I was in the first and second Chechen wars. Sounds like probably a man in his 40s who was a conscript in those wars. Because, the second one ended 24 years ago. He likely is just like that. He sits there and goes, dude, the drones are just inflicting massive, massive casualties. It sounds like increasingly surreal that the Ukrainian drone warfare has just reached an apex where it's just so much more efficient than true infantry fighting that it can just inflict incredible casualties. And in classic Russian fashion, their own drones are human lives. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. Big thank you to the Colonel tier members of combatvetnews.com, including and especially Anon, Don Mossman, Citronix, Bill Dwyer, Douglas Beck, H. Young. Thank you guys, and all the members. Thank you so much. Thanks to the Colonel tier members, or the Lieutenant tier members, excuse me. Really appreciate you. And I will see all you guys in the next one. Cheers.